What up fam, welcome back to 88-Bit Tech. I'm AJ and today we are reviewing another all-white AliExpress case, but this time cheaper. So this case over here, I recently reviewed on my channel, the all-black version of it. It's the Pado YL Matx case, and this one cost me $27 delivered. However, this one's about 13% cheaper, $23 delivered. Not that big of a difference, however, there are some key features that I definitely want to highlight. So let's take a look. So one of the key differences here, you'll notice that the Pado YL Matx is a bit taller and has more room to be able to mount a cooler at the top here. You can actually fit, according to the manual for the Pado YL Matx, you can fit a 240mm radiator on the top. However, on the Aigo 275P, also known as the Dark Flash 275P, it's the same case, just a different brand. I think you can only fit one on the side here or on the bottom. There's definitely no room to fit it at the top, but let's take a look at the manuals for each of these. I don't know if you can see that, but the fan support, radiator support on this is the Aigo A275P. The radiator supports a bottom 240mm and a side 240mm. With the side, it would barely fit a 240mm, especially if you're using a full-size Matx board. These half-size boards that you can get a lot of the time from AliExpress, it only runs 2 RAM slots. These types of configurations will look much better in these types of cases and will give you more room to work with. However, in here you'll see that once you do put fans in there, the cables are gonna be really difficult to route if you've got a full-sized Matx motherboard. Same situation honestly with this case as well, but with this case, let's compare, and with a little bit of translation help from the missus here, we did the Aigo. This is not the Aigo, this is the Pado YL Matx case. Yeah. Officially, the manual says that it supports 240mm top cooling AIO. So I'm not sure if you can fit a 240mm AIO on the side here. I think you can, but it would extend out quite a bit if you did. I'm fairly certain actually that you can. I don't see a reason, as long as you're using a small form factor Matx case or Matx motherboard. Another couple things that are different between these two cases. So this is the $27 one, this is the $23 one. The $23 one gets an extra USB 2.0 port, which is really nice. And the headphone is a combo microphone headphone jack versus it's separated on the Pado YL Matx. The Aigo 275F also has a dust cover for the top, which is really nice, and overall has more ventilation. You can see it's much wider here, and on the bottom also much wider. You can see the holes there. This one extends way further back, so you're getting way more airflow. Another added benefit to the cheaper one that I really like is that the Pado YL Matx case, the glass side panel is screwed in on the front here, which is really annoying, and it also just doesn't look as clean. However, the cheaper one, the Aigo A275P, has no such screws on the glass side panels. So this side panel is actually connected with just a secured kind of like with a plastic bit here that expands a little bit, so it just kind of clips in and then you can unclip it out. So it's really easy to remove and put back on as opposed to the Pado YL Matx case. Another bonus to this case is the Pado YL Matx case comes with no top bracket for the PCIe slot. This generally wouldn't be a problem. However, some motherboards, this top bracket actually isn't where the graphics card sits. Sometimes it's one below. So it removes some options on what motherboards you can use, especially if you are going to mount fans on the bottom. It's going to cause some spacing issues for sure. And like I said, you'll just have this bracket open. So you'll have to use in these two brackets, which is what I had to do with the black version of that case. I ended up taping it shut. The motherboard I have in here has uh, the X16 slot on the two lower slots rather than the top here. So this is just, I just ended up taping one of the brackets back there with some black electrical tape. It looks really clean, but at least it's just not open like it would be on here. So that's a bit annoying on the Pado YL Matx case. However, the Aigo does not suffer from that problem. All the brackets are there, so you can take out what you need, and well ventilated, I might add. So cool. I think that pretty much covers it. It's the same configuration on the back of both of these. Like I said, this one, the Aigo is definitely, you get way more ventilation because you can see it's got perforated holes all along the side here as well as here for the down here for the fans. And for the Pado YL MATX, it's just the bottom here cut out for the PSU and this side one here. So you're getting way more ventilation on the Aigo A275P. So overall, between the two, I still like the Pado YL MATX because of the angled brackets for this side mounting here. It just looks a lot cleaner. However, I definitely prefer the screwless glass side panel on the Aigo A275P. And there is more room in this one to top mount a 240mm AIO. You definitely cannot top mount on here. I saw another YouTube reviewer who tried, and there's just not enough room to top mount. You might be able to bottom mount a 240mm AIO, but I don't think realistically that's gonna be possible either. It doesn't look like there's that much more room on the bottom here. Actually, no, you definitely could. You could bottom mount an AIO here, and you could side mount. Although he showed if you're using a full size MATX board, you'll need like 15mm fans to really not cramp the cables as you're routing them around the motherboard, and it's going to block the fans quite a bit. It's the same situation over here as well, but I think if you have a full MATX board on this one, you'll have a much harder time mounting a 240mm AIO on the side. Actually, I don't even think it'll be possible. I think it'll protrude too far out and it'll hit the back of the motherboard. So you could try it with the 15mm slim low profile fans for the AIO, but yeah, you're better off just top mounting the 240mm AIO. I mean, it does say in the manual that it's only the top for the 240mm, so maybe you can't really mount that on the side. But this one, you definitely, it definitely says you can side mount a 240mm or bottom mount, so it should fit on the Aigo A275P. Okay, so I did want to show you how to remove the side panel on the Aigo A275P glass side panel. There's these thumb holes on the side, let's see, and it's just gonna pop out. I'll show you here. Just gonna take this off so I can better. Yep, there you go. You can see here it's just got these metal balls. It just hooks into these latches here. The part that is really annoying compared to the Pado YL Matx case is this glass side panel can be removed as well. It's got 4 screws you have to, here and here, that have to be unscrewed to remove that. But then, the part that's really annoying, if you don't have a screwdriver that has a long neck or stem, you have to come at these screws on the inside. If you can't go through these holes here from the side to unscrew it. So it's not the most ideal position to get to the screws to remove that in order to get into this case. But it's overall, you're still able to do it from an angle, but be careful not to strip the nail too much. All right, so we have the build complete now. So we've got a B650M motherboard in there paired with the Ryzen 5 7400F that is overclocked to 4.95 gigahertz, stable in games, paired with 16 gigabytes of CL38 6000 mega transfer per second RAM and an RTX 3070. Gets plenty of airflow, and after about 15 minutes of gameplay, we're looking in Baldur's Gate 3. We're looking at around 65 to just below 70 on the GPU, and the CPU stays around the mid 70s to high 70s, but stays under 80C. We're playing this at 1440p ultra settings with DLSS quality enabled, and we are getting absolutely great temperatures. Don't mind the 1%, 0.1% lows here. I'm not exactly sure. There wasn't any stutters in the game. It just sometimes when it switches scenes to it will drop to that FPS, but overall, fairly solid performance. This case also looks quite amazing. I don't have reverse blade fans for this one. It would look much better if I did, but this is a custom setup I have with the purple and teal look to it. Yeah, really easy case to build in, plenty of room. I basically stuffed all the cables behind the hard drive cage there, but it's a very clean setup. The Aigo A275P is an easy recommendation for me. You're going to be hard pressed to find a better deal for an aesthetically pleasing case for $23 US delivered. Super easy to build in with plenty of room for cable management and plenty of airflow. If you found this video useful and you'd like to pick up the case for yourself, please consider using the affiliate link in my description, as it will help the channel out and help me make more content like this for you guys. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. Kindly do the YouTube thing, like, comment, and subscribe. And thanks for tuning in, guys, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.